Thank you. Um, Full transparency, I don't have a single moment for you. This is going to be a lot more ornery and crotchety. So do what you need to do to transition. Thank you, Evan, for inviting me and supporting my work all these years. I've known Evan for a very long time, and he's been a steward of many artists. Thank you very much. Un aplauso para Evan. Otro aplauso for the Joyce Gordon Gallery. Wonderful to be here reading among all this gorgeous artwork. Um, when I think of ancestors, it takes me back to Nicaragua, where my family is from. And then I also thought that I wanted to read from this book because the small press that published it is a couple of blocks away. I want to honor being in Oakland in that manner. I've encountered ancestors here. I've been influenced by them and I've learned by them. And then I also thought, like, in Orlando, in the title story of this collection, I thought about making connections to other Latinx communities across the country. And what allows me to do that is not just my personal ancestors, but the ancestors. That's what allows me to connect to all these people, these commonalities. And in particular, I was connecting to the Caribeños, those faces that I saw in news reports in Orlando. So this is for all our ancestors. And one last note, Soledad got me thinking, I actually have been considering bangs recently. I don't know if I can pull them off. I don't know if I'm that brave. I'll keep thinking. One day. One day. Eventually, Rolando played varsity baseball for 3 years, the first with his brother, and he found his space and the balance between practice and studying and breezed through high school. Like his tío, he dug reading, and soon he was equally passionate about books and histories as he was about playing baseball. So much so that USF recognized that spark in intellect and decided to award his efforts with an academic scholarship. What about Berkeley? I said. It's cool, but USF seems right. You know, tío? So Rolando graduated honoring us all and was set to go off to college. Marcel had asked him what he wanted as a present, and Rolando was quick to say he wanted to visit Nicaragua. Are you sure, Marcel asked? It's the rainy season right now in Nicaragua. That's fine, Rolando said. He wanted to experience the rain and the worms that rose out of the mud and the unrelenting humidity in the dusty mercados. He wanted to see the view of the cobblestone street from the window of Alfonso Cortez and stand in the intersection of those Cuatros Caídos and swim to the shores of Solentiname and make rubbings of the petroglyphs on Ometepe. He wanted to eat legitimate bajo and maybe try garrobo negro, black iguana, and walk barefoot over volcanic rock because, as he understood, it was everywhere. Not to be bound by the landlocked dry grass landscape of Oakley, Rolando grew up proud as hell to be Nicoya, just like his father was proud. He read the great poets and looked up history, and when the opportunity came, he was ready to make the pilgrimage to Managua, couldn't wait to walk out onto the simmering tarmac, the hot breeze blowing in his face and the palm trees succumbing and bent around him. Rolando traveled with his grandmother. Marcel reminded her, too, to watch out for him. Mama, you know how he is, he said. ¿Qué le va a pasar? Mama, watch him. He's never been down there before. Todo va a estar bien. ¿Verdad, hijo? And Rolando squeezed his grandmother tight, smashed a kiss into her cheek, then took his father's hand and shook it, thank you. Gave him a more embrace and told him how much he loved him and not to worry. He wasn't that crazy, manic little boy anymore. Only a little bit. Be safe, hijo. I am, Pop. I always am. And then Marcel let his little boy go. At the airport in Managua, Rolando jumped in the back of a pickup with the luggage and a small boy he didn't know. His grandmother rode up front with his primo Luis. He held on tightly to the bed of the pickup as it sped along the highway to Granada. He smiled big, taking in the passing landscape, the black boulders and basalt fields, the towering silhouettes of Sandino atop the cerros. Tears dragged from the corners of his eyes, but he didn't care. He was happy to be sitting on the luggage in the back of a rickety truck. A small, strange boy looking at him curiously, at his shoes, at his hair, at the abalone buttons of his denim shirt. Rolando was happy to be careening along the highway, shelled and ruined from years of civil war, but heading home. When he wasn't occupied eating bigoron from a banana leaf or downing huge cups of pinolillo, plates and cups appeared all the time, all day at each new residence. Whenever he could, Rolando, little notebook in hand, sat down to talk to his grandmother and her sisters as much as he could to get down their stories. He was intent on documenting, or at the very least, remembering what life was like for our family in Nicaragua, what life was like for most Nicoyas in Nicaragua. ¿Habla español? His tia Daisy looked at him with kind eyes and a pleasant smile as she rolled masa on a large wooden table. No tanto. Over there, it's all English with his brother. Oh, entonces no habla español. Algo. Marcel doesn't speak to him in Spanish. Sí, algo. Conmigo también. Sí entiendo, abuelita. I understand. Ya déjalo en paz. His tia Adela set 2 pieces of leña in the old cast iron stove. She stoked the fire, then began to gently lay slices of plátanos in hot oil. Aquí Eva aprende a hablar. ¿Verdad que sí, hijo? Sí, tía. Claro que sí. Here, he's going to stuff himself with gallo pinto y cuaja de cheese like a good Indio Nicaragüense. ¿Verdad que sí, hijo? Sí, tía. Tia Daisy motioned for him to stand next to her, and she showed him how to cup a mass of masa in his hand and pound it into perfect tortilla. That was the way she had learned when she was a little girl, standing at the shoulder of her mother, her great-grandmother Berta Wenceslada. That's how she learned to make many things. Chancho frito, arroz a la valenciana, bajo, huevos en catre, cerdo asado, cajeta. Your bisabuela would stand over the same table and pound out tortillas all morning. I remember the sound, tum 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 tum, una hecha, tum 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 tum, another one done. The whole time she had a cigarette dangling from her mouth, just dancing there. No es cierto. My mother never smoked when she made tortillas. Yes, she did. I remember her in the kitchen, always smoking when she cooked. Mentira. She would have dropped ashes into the tortillas. Estás loca, bo. Tia Daisy and Tia Adela went back and forth like that all day, all the time. And Rolando listened to the rhythm of their banter, the lilt of their voices as they spoke. And he jotted down the words of note, like chihuines, chunche, chele, puchica, and yay, yay, yay. His Tia Daisy snuck glances at her nephew while she continued to make tortillas. She smiled curiously as he scribbled into his little notebook. ¿Te gusta escribir, Rolando? Sí, tía. What do you write? What I hear, how you talk, new words. Tia Adela stopped cooking to look at Rolando. Parece mucho a Reinaldo. Los ojos, el pelo. Looks just like him. ¿Quién? A brother. He died young. He looks just like him. Chele, his eyes, his hair. Mi tío? Sí. He liked to write too. He wrote little things, a poem, a little story, a few lines. He sat in his chair outside by himself writing. He left his notebooks everywhere. He looked so much like him. Tia Daisy tossed several tortillas on the comal and stacked them just as quickly when they were done. Tia Adela brought over plátanos and queso frito, and they all sat to eat. His grandmother served chilla. After they ate, Adela went into a small dark room and came out with a large black leather album. She sat next to Rolando and turned the pages. She named the faces, pointing out his grandmother as a toddler, the 3 sisters dressed in huipiles, a stoic photo of their mother Berta Wenceslada. This is your tío Reinaldo. Oh, see? Your eyes are like his. Tia, who's this? That's me. Tia, you're so beautiful. She was posed looking up into a hidden light, her long dark hair laid across her shoulders and back, silky and shiny. Tia, did you ever marry? Muchos enamorados, but never a husband. No one worth the time. Adela smiled mischievously. Wow, Tia, you're so beautiful in these pictures. She turned more pages and named more relatives. Thank you.